Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Sebastian Stroller, and this video is an expansion and an extension to the video for trauma of humanity and the article, the for trauma of humanity. In that article and video, I share my opinion what the four iconic persons of our four big religions did. This talk is not about religion. This talk is about looking to them, try to get an understanding in the point of view and in the context of trauma. The term trauma in context of an psychological state is developed around 1800. The word or the term trauma as a wound or injury was developed by the Greeks 400 BC. So the term trauma in terms of wound and injury, 400 BC, and the term trauma in context of an psychological state was developed 1800. That means two of the four religious figures, Krishna and Buddha, did not even know the term trauma. On their time they lived, trauma in any kind doesn't exist. Jesus, Mohammed could had the term trauma, but not in context of a psychological state. We want to focus on Buddha and Mohammed. Why is this? These two are quite well documented. And another two, Krishna is kind of mystic, and Jesus is a lot of his doing is unknown. There's a big gap uh, in his life. In my opinion, all four did the same thing and coming to the same conclusion, each of them on their own path. And if we look in terms of trauma, and especially childhood trauma, we can say all of them had childhood trauma. And if we look to Buddha and to Mohammed, then it's basically clear if you experience a major trauma like isolation trauma or the trauma of loss of your whole family till you are 8 years old, then there is for both clear, if you have this trauma, you have, let's say, all other sub-trauma as well, right? If you lose all of your family, then you don't have a warm and loving home. Then you don't have acceptance, validation, support, and so on. I would call this kind of trauma sub-trauma. And for Buddha, it's the same. If you live in isolation and you get controlled what to learn, what to see, what to experience, then there is also clear you don't have a warm and loving home, acceptance, validation, and so on. And both, or all four, but both felt it and saying, I feel this and I have to go and solve that. And what interesting is that Buddha is or was kind of royal and Mohammed kind of working class. And those feelings, if you are aware of your trauma, then you know how it feels. Then you know this longing burning inside of you. And with Buddha, we can see how he was trying to solve this. For a long time, he tried to heal pain with pain. He tried to counter pain, those feelings. Just eating one rice corn a day. And he also stay with teachers sleeping on dorm beds. It is not documented that he did that, but I assume if you stay with teachers who practice that kind of practices, you at least try it. And this was increasing. Mohammed staying with people, let's say with the crowd. He was well known, well accepted, highly or high within a high reputation, and seeking isolation by visiting a cave over and over again. And before he reached his state, this cave visiting also increases. And the interesting part here is that before Buddha had his final moment under the Bodhi tree, he receives and accepted the first time a meal of rice mousse. And after that, he had his final moment under the Bodhi tree. In my opinion, that moment, he receives this meal and accepted it. He understands care. Exactly that. What's missing if you live in isolation. Followed by enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Mohammed, as a well accepted person with high reputation from people around him, seeking isolation and come to the same enlightenment. They not calling this enlightenment. Why Buddha's state was called enlightenment and Mohammed's state, I used the German word Offenbarung. Why is this? Buddha, why is this in my opinion? Buddha came from royal. He got, or he was, highly educated. And through his path, he stay and he practice with educated teachers, with an understanding what they are doing, what they're doing it for, and to where they want to go with this. For Mohammed and his environment, let's say back then, working class, maybe no education at all. And then someone get enlightened. For those people, it must be God. What does it mean for us? They may not know the term trauma, at least not in context of a psychological state. They felt it and they went out to solve it without the possibilities to get help, to ask anyone, no medication. They do not suicide themselves and solve this unknown. And this is an interpretation from myself. This is also kind of reincarnation. If you solve that inner state, what you have, and you survive that, this is reincarnation, especially back then. On top of it, for us, especially for those who have to solve trauma, all of those four figures, Krishna, Jesus, Buddha, Mohammed, felt like us. They felt like you feel. And they was going into unknown fields with a longing to solve this. What they experienced in their childhood. If someone have this today or similar, and data shows we have this a lot, ends up for a lot of people overdosed somewhere on the street. And I also like to simplifying things to make it working somehow or to get a better understanding. And everything they shared with us or let us, we can say this is the truth. But these are very advanced concepts, especially in the context that they do not have terms we use by today. They do not have context and science what we have by today. And for example, love your next one is a extremely advanced concept, right? Back then, the next one, maybe 20 kilometers far from you. It's easy to love everyone 20 kilometers far from you. By today, love your next one. We need to identify who is the next one. Is it the guy on Facebook or is it the neighbor or and all of those concepts are really advanced, especially by today. So I was thinking, how can I distill a message for myself? Because if I would have the opportunity to ask all of them, they would give me the same advice. And how I can distill a concept I can easily live. And I want to share with you this concept. If you know you are a mirror for others, and for people around you, what should people see if they look into this mirror? And I know your question. And the question starts with yes, but, right? And in MAP, we're thinking in options. You have 4 great figures. You can choose one or all 4. And to answer your yes, but, I want to cite Friedrich Nietzsche. He said once, there will be maybe no situation in your life when you have to use this word, but you can have one. And I want to expand this. Never perform any action where you are not willing or cannot carry the consequences. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.